How's everyone doing today? It's me, Bob Harris, footballdiehards.com, a website of some renown. Hello, Andrea. You might know me from the SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio channel of the Football Diehards program. You'll hear. And by the way, we do have a schedule. We're on. Don't freak out. It says they're doing a lot of baseball stuff right now. It's understandable. It's baseball season, I suppose. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that. Okay. I'm not a fan of at all of that. Right? I don't like the baseball. I don't believe games played with horse-hide equipment are cool. I'm fine with pigskin. Hey, Gator, see you in a little bit. Yeah, we're going to talk a little football tonight. We call this on the hot seat on Wednesday nights. We'll take your questions. We're going to talk about all the developments, and there are whopping developments this week. Some of the things we touched on in the last edition on Sunday have come to pass, and we have answers on some of these situations and gaining clarity. We're gaining some insights into what's going on with some other major players. So we'll sort through all of those. I'll throw them out there. I want to hear your opinions, your comments, your questions. Uh, Mostly your opinions. Love hearing everyone. Hello, Albert. Thanks for coming. It's the time of year we kind of kick it around. Same opinion about no baseball. Larry K knows what's going on. Hey, Dame. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you being here. It's been a pretty eventful week. I mean, we should start off with the top headline. Chosen Anderson, also known as Robbie, previously known as Robbie, or the receiver formerly known as Robbie, depending whether it's the IE or the Y, I don't know. It's chosen now. He's been released by the Arizona Cardinals. I think we're all going to be okay. Other Cardinals related news: DeAndre Hopkins available for that second round pick, and maybe one other. Might take a conditional pick as well. But he's ready to move on, throwing out the Dallas Cowboys. We'll discuss those if we get to them. There are obviously bigger fish to fry this week. I'm killing time waiting for people to get here so we can get into all the exciting stuff when there's a full crowd. As always, hit the subscribe button here on the Football Diehards YouTube channel. We appreciate your patronage here. As you know, I'm here every Wednesday and Saturday. Wednesdays, we try to make it about 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturdays, we aim for noon. We will have guests coming on. I know y'all like the rookie talk. John Lobb will be back. If you go to the footballdiehards.com website that I keep touting, you can sign up. It's a 15% discount if you use the promo code Diehards. Appreciate it if you would. You will find great information there. John Laub's latest, the tight ends, which he waited until after the combine so he could get a look. Yeah, the combine was great. I love the combine. Turns out that Anthony Richardson is quite athletic. I don't think anyone should be shocked by this. But the values are going to climb. But we'll be visiting with Laub. And as we get closer to the draft, I'll bring in other draft nicks, some of whom you know, Matt Waldman, my good friend from the rookie scouting portfolio, to add to what Laub has to say. But again, you can go to the website right now. We have the quarterbacks, part one of the running backs, part one of the wide receivers, and the tight ends up and available for you. We'll have more articles coming. We have some pieces in the works from some of our other staffers that you'll enjoy. Some best balls. Everyone taking part in the best balls? How are your best balls going? Do you feel good about them? Do you like the? Are they playing out the way you feel like they're playing out? Are you ready for them all to be scrambled by some of the latest developments? Let's dive in. Again, hit the subscribe button here on the channel. Hit the like button. Hit the dislike button. I like to hit the dislike button. I usually do that. It's okay. If you don't like me, you don't have to like me. But you have to like what's going on in the NFL. It's like the total, I always, throw it out there. It's the 365-day-a-year reality show. It never ends. It's ongoing. We go from regular season to playoffs to Super Bowl. I'm leaving out the Pro Bowl on purpose, right? To the scouting combine, to free agency or the pre-free agent. Let's put a finer point on it. Let's add a little granularity here. The pre-free agency insanity. Then free agency that'll start next Wednesday or the 15th, and there'll be a free agent. The legal tampering period they now have established in advance of that. We do have some players signed. We'll talk about some of them there. You can see the agenda. Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Danny Dimes, Saquon Barkley, Derek Carr, Geno Smith, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Evan Ingram. I'll hit on all these things. We'll try to sort out the values. Eager to hear your opinions on all these things. Look, I come here and I talk. I like to see what you guys have to say. I'll incorporate it into the discussion. Hi Bob. If I do, you've been around here at all. You know how we do this. I'm here guiding the proceedings, but your input is as valued as anything here, and I like to hear what's going on. Many of you are great players, probably all of you. Some of you I've competed against. Crushed, Dame crushed. Great player. Anyway, many of you in here, Scott Kobe usually in here as well. Great high stakes player. Others, Matthew Whitfield, some of the usual, some of the regulars that you'll find in here. Always do a great job. So let's dive in to the shenanigans here and start with the most shenaniganest of them all. Well, maybe it's not. I mean, maybe it's a tie. We'll start with the Aaron Rodgers. So if you've been around for the various live streams that I've kind of done these, since the season ended, I've kind of been on the Aaron Rodgers 90% sure he's back with the Packers. Okay, I'll adjust that. The news today and yesterday is that he has met with the Jets, who obviously have permission to talk to him. Otherwise, that would be illegal tampering. Ask the Miami Dolphins how that works out on draft day. So they're talking to Aaron Rodgers. They flew out Woody Johnson. Was among the owner. I mean, went from the top. Joe Douglas, the GM, Robert Saleh, the head coach, and Nathaniel Hackett, who is one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite assistants from his time together in Green Bay. He's the new offensive coordinator for the Jets. So the New York Football Jets definitely in the running for Aaron Rodgers. Went and met with him. So look, I'm obviously going to adjust. I'm not 90% anymore. I'm going to go. This is going to go down closer to 50-50. But if you listen, and hey, Royal, thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate you showing up. Another great player out there who I have competed against valiantly, but coming up short mostly. So yeah. So I'm going to dial this back. I mean, I don't know that it's 50-50. I think if you listen to the commentary about this, it's probably correct. Number one, Aaron Rodgers is very deliberate the way he goes. He may go do another darkness stint, right? Or he may have to go down to South America and do some of the hallucinogenics that he enjoys so much. The Jets players are in full recruitment mode. If you're out there on the social media, Sauce Gardner, among others, all putting in their 2 cents worth, and why wouldn't they, right? Also, I noticed the betting lines. If Aaron Rodgers shows up the Packers, the Jets probably move right up into the list of favorites for the Super Bowl, the next year of the Super Bowl. So, and look, this is a pretty damn good team. Great defense, right? Very good defense, and a lot of really good skill players. Look, they draft well. Apparently, Joe Douglas does something right. Maybe not everything, says Zach Wilson, but he does some things right. I mean, last year we have the rookie of the year on both the offense and defense. It's Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. We have some really good players, some of whom weren't all that happy last year. Elijah Mitchell, not pleased. Hall looks fantastic, right? The running back injured his ACL. We hope he comes back in time. Michael Carter still available to fill in that gap a little bit. Who else is drafting Michael Carter maybe a little earlier than they should because they're not sure Hall's going to be ready. Like Hall is going early, right? I think I want to say probably too early. Also, I'm one of those too early, right? I mean, look, love the upside, love what we saw of him. Looked like everything he was drafted to be. They need some work on the offensive line there, but they do have a good receiving core. We'll see if they stick with Corey Davis. Some talk that maybe he'll be released to cap casually, but Denzel Mims maybe starting to fulfill his former first-round potential. So, look, there's a lot to like about the New York Jets. Bob Voitko wants to know if Rodgers goes to the Jets, does his value take a hit or does he rise in the rankings? I don't know that his value takes it. I think the perception will be positive, though, right? People will look at the supporting cast. He'll be bought in. Like, if he goes there, they're going to have to figure out that $60 million he's owed. And they're going to have to pay something for him, right? So they're obviously going to be all in, and they're going to expect him to be all in. What was one of the issues last year for the Green Bay Packers? He wasn't all in, right? It's funny how he lamented about the lack of work with his young receiving core, all those things. Well, he was the reason, right? He wasn't there for OTAs and minicamps. Granted, Christian Watson was hurt when he did show up and had the knee procedure. I want to say late June or whatever. So that was a slow down a little bit, but didn't have the entire OTA season to work with Watson, Romeo Doubs, the other pieces that they have in place. So look, I think this could honestly go either way. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has decided anything yet, but we've heard the reporting. I talked about it in a previous live stream. Bob McGinn, the former Packers beat writer from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. And I want to just throw this out there. Like when you hear these things, we hear people talking, it's good to know a little bit about their background. Bob is a little bit curmudgeonly, does a great annual piece where he talks to all the people, to, to personnel people from all the teams. He kind of throws out a lot of pre-draft information. Some people love it. I enjoy it. Mike Dempsey loves it. By the way, Dempsey's going to be coming on the live stream here uh, in the coming weeks. We'll get him on here, maybe Fabiano too. Get a bunch of people on here. But anyway, so McGinn goes out and puts this stuff out there. But Matt Waldman says, oh, the only thing he's putting out there is what people want him to put out, right? Like they all know he's going to throw it out there, so they give him this information in order to throw off other teams, etc. So anyway, but he's a little curmudgeonly, maybe not a big Aaron Rodgers fan, right? So he put out there that the Packers are disgusted the way Rodgers has comported himself the last couple of years, and they're ready to move on. They think Jordan Love can get the job done. If you've been watching Good Morning Football, Aaron Jones was on. He would love Aaron Rodgers to return. Also, sounds like he'd be feeling like the rest of the Packers that maybe Jordan Love can get the job done. Look, we've seen this movie before, right? It was the starting Brett Favre and with Aaron Rodgers in the Jordan Love part, right? So this is not a new thing. The Packers have dealt with this before. I think they'd probably like to move on from the drama, but only if it's beneficial. And there's been talk as well, despite Bob McGinn's insistence, this team can't stand Aaron Rodgers and they want to move on. That if Aaron Rodgers, said to them, "Look, I'm all in," and he started demonstrating that through his actions, they'd be perfectly fine with this. They'd be perfectly fine getting another year out of Rodgers. So we'll see how this plays out. I think the values, though, to me, it goes to the Jets. I think the price will rise, right? Just because it's a new thing. I call it, if you've listened to me a lot, you hear about the optimism of the unknown. Like, we know how bad he sucked last year in Green Bay, right? I think he could be better, right? I think this could be much better. Matt LaFleur, very good play caller, a little more time with these pieces. I think Christian Watson demonstrated he can play at a very high level. Can he do it over the course of the full season? That's the next step for him. Romeo Doubs showed some promise. We'll see what happens with Alan Lazard. I know my friend Matthew Berry did his piece on NBC about the latest buzz. He goes to the combine every year and kind of gets some buzz on the fantasy related players. And it sounds like there's a lot of teams that are going to be interested in Alan Lazard. Not surprising if you watch my most recent live stream where I ranked the free agent wide receivers and had Alan Lazard in my top 5. It's almost like I knew what I was doing. That's very, very vain of me. Anyway, so look, I think this would be, I think he'd be a value if he remains in Green Bay, and he might go a little overpriced if he goes to the Jets. Just that optimism of the unknown. A new scene. Nathaniel Hackett's been pretty lousy offensive coordinator over the course of time. During his previous stops, his teams have not fared well. The team that did fare well was the Packers. In the seasons he was offensive coordinator there. Also, when he was offensive coordinator there, Matt LaFleur was calling the play. So, right? So, but good supporting cast there in Green Bay. Also, a good supporting cast for the Jets. So, this is one we'll have to watch how it plays out. I'm excited to see what happens. I love these kind of turnovers, but it is time to start, assessing some of these values. Again, if you're out there playing best balls, people are going to be drafting based on these. You'll notice slight changes and adjustments to things. So we'll see what happens with Aaron Rodgers in the coming days. He has told the Packers he does not want to hold them hostage, which he already is, because he is. I mean, they had an opinion. The sooner they get this done, the better they can plot their free agent strategies and see what they need to do in the draft, understand what their cap's going to be for both sides, right? Garrett Wilson, Gator wants to know, where does the value of Garrett Wilson go if Rodgers goes there? I don't know if it could go a ton higher, Gator. Honestly, by the way, I'll be on the live stream, FF Intervention live stream later with Gator and my friend Shane. And Chase Vernon won't be there. Damn it. Anyway, hey, Golf Boy, how's it going, man? Appreciate you. But I do think, Garrett Wilson, I want to go look at some of the best balls I'm doing and see kind of get in the range of where he's going here. You look back, I mean, it's pretty high. I've seen him going as high as the third, maybe even higher. I think third round is generally where I'm seeing him. I don't know where you got. Yeah, third round seems to be kind of the consistent in all the ongoing drafts that I'm in. It is. Oh, I'm on the clock here. Hi. I did a big industry draft as well, so let's check them with that one with a bunch of heavy hitters: Matt Kelly, Pat Fitzmaurice, Jody Smith. Curtis Patrick. Who else was in there? Jeff Erickson, or was it Coventry was in there? Billy Muzio, Matt Schauf, Howard Bender. Who else is in there? Oh yeah, man, it's Ratcliffe in there. Hey, it's a good draft. Bob Lung. Holy Christ. Dave Richard, the newly minted Dave Richard, Hall of Fantasy Sports Writing Hall of Fame. Garrett Wilson went in the second round in this draft. So I don't think it would go much higher. I think he's kind of, I think he's kind of hit his ceiling there. So, I don't think it would push his value up. Might push up value still of guys like Romeo Dubs a little bit, maybe. Like I'm drafting Michael Carter a little bit. I mentioned Brees Hall. I think if last year taught us anything, it's that J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards don't come off torn ACLs as quickly as we like. Maybe others won't. And we'll see about Javonte Williams. So a little talk that maybe the Denver Broncos, Matthew Berry threw this out there. If they make a play for Kareem Hunt with Sean Payton at the helm, that kind of receiving option out of the backfield, that's probably an indication that Javonte Williams is not as ready. He had a complicated knee injury. But anyway, that's the thing. I mean, there's going to be a lot of nice pieces. I think all the associated pieces will grow in some interest. So the value of Garrett Wilson right now, he's going as a high-end wide receiver 2, maybe tail end of the wide receiver 1s. I don't think that value changes much if Aaron Rodgers goes there. Like if we see something as we get closer to the season where they're showing really good chemistry, or we're hearing those reports, maybe that changes. Maybe then all bets are off. But I don't think materially between now and the start of camp, that's going to change a lot. Mr. Scampers, thank you for coming. Love seeing you here as always. So there we have it. So the Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets, percolating. We'll see how it plays out. Nothing is decided yet, right? I think everyone who's reporting this is stressed. He might not end up with what if the Jets say, wait a minute, maybe Lamar Jackson's a better fit for us. And so let's get into Lamar Jackson as we kind of exit the Aaron Rodgers story. It's a really good story. It's going to be dominating the airwaves right now because as we get closer to free agency, we'll figure out what's going on with Lamar. But for right now, we've got something to grind on in terms of Aaron Rodgers and the interest of the New York Football Jets. And Woody Johnson has said it. I mean, they want a quarterback. I think they are maybe a player away from making a strong postseason push. So good for them for making the move. We'll see how it plays out, and we'll find out what Jordan Love's all about if there's a move. And I think that'll be the interesting other piece. How do we value Christian Watson if we come to that, and Romeo Dubs and the rushing attack? Do they rely more heavily on the run? I mean, I think there's a lot of things we don't know about Jordan Love that the Packers seem to know, right? Based on their comments, it seems like they know it. All right, so here we are. Newcomers, I'm Bob Harris. If you're here for the first time ever, I do this a lot, every week, twice a week. Wednesdays at 7 p.m. This is on the hot seat. Saturday, I do another session at noon. We'll be having more guests on. We'll be talking more draft as we get closer to the draft. But tonight I'm talking about all the developments this week. And boy, Lamar Jackson, very exciting news for all of us. Lamar Jackson gets the so there were 6 players were tagged, right? And none got the exclusive. They're all given the non-exclusive franchise tag. So Lamar Jackson, $32.4 million is the price. If you want him, come get him. Right. By the way, and we'll talk about the others: Tony Pollard, Evan Ingram, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, and we'll talk about Danny Dimes a little bit. Those were the skill players. The only other player of the 6 that got it was Daron Payne, the Washington Commander. So we won't talk about it tonight. Anyway, so let's get into this a little bit of Lamar Jackson. I mean, basically. I know a lot of people are really worked up about this. Oh, how could the Ravens do this? Oh, a couple things. The Ravens have been trying to get a long-term deal done with Lamar Jackson for 25 months. He's his own agent. He wants a fully guaranteed contract from what we heard. Now, we don't know this 100% because Lamar Jackson's not talking about this, but I think it's safe to say he wants the Deshaun Watson deal. He wants fully guaranteed money and probably more of it than Deshaun Watson got. Understandable from his side of the coin, right? I mean, and also understandable from the Ravens side. Steve Bisciotti, very rich man, maybe doesn't want to guarantee all that money, right? $250 million or more guaranteed, right? For a guy who Okay, like I love Lamar Jackson. I think he's one of the most exciting players in the league, but the last couple of years haven't been great, right? And we see how these things have gone. Look, I'm not going to make a direct comparison here, but it's fair to say, like, I mean, 2019 MVP. He's been phenomenal. That was a phenomenal season. He has not been as good since, but still pretty damn good, pretty damn dangerous. They haven't surrounded him with all the talent he needs at wide receiver. They acknowledge that. But it's been a couple of years since we've seen that super high end performance, and we've seen other quarterbacks. Carson Wentz was almost an MVP once, right? What happened to that guy? Right. So, putting this in the context of how much money we're talking here, and that it's going to be fully guaranteed. But here's the Ravens. Costa is their GM, took over from Ozzie Newsome, still, I think a vice president with the team. These guys all know how this works. They know what's been going on. They've been trying to negotiate with him. Who knows what kind of offers they've made? Maybe some fantastic offers. Maybe Lamar's just stuck in his ways and he's not going to take anything less than what he wants. We don't know the details. We have heard reports that he's turned down a lot of money, a lot of guaranteed money, and we've seen contracts negotiated since the Deshaun Watson contract that were not fully guaranteed. Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. So they're going to try and do this. But here's the genius part of this, right? So as soon as you use the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, you do that realizing a possible outcome is Lamar Jackson is not your quarterback in 2023, right? Because here with the non-exclusive tag, another team can come along, make an offer. If you don't want to match that offer, you being the Baltimore Ravens, you get a couple first-round picks and you move on, or maybe more. But beyond that, what you do is you crowdsource your negotiation, right? Lamar Jackson's been really stuck in his ways. He's not accepting the Ravens deal. What if he gets offers from 20 teams and none of them are offering any more than the Ravens? Maybe the Ravens are offering more than those 20 teams. The Ravens have just had their deal negotiated for them by the field of NFL teams. And there's some talk that teams are already saying they're not interested. And people talking about collusion. How do you guys feel about the whole collusion storyline? Not a fan of it. Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Miami Dolphins, Washington Commanders, Las Vegas Raiders say they are not interested, although, let's put that into context too. We are told they say they're not interested. So some reporter has reached out to somebody on this team. None of these have names on them, right? And they've all said they're not interested. Unless they are. I mean, do they always tell the truth? No. I mean, I try to tell the truth all the time. I don't think NFL executives do the same, especially this time of year. So, thinking that some of those teams that said they're not interested are interested, I mean, you got to love the Washington Commanders storyline where Daniel Snyder, who does not want to sell his team to Jeff Bezos, his dreaded enemy, what if he saddles him with a huge contract for Lamar Jackson before he slips out the door and sells the team and leaves that? So who knows what's going to happen? I mean, as far as teams being interested or not interested, I know the Miami Dolphins are one of the teams that said maybe they're not. Maybe they are. Maybe they still are. They said they would explore every option at quarterback. They stated also they're totally into Tua Tagovailoa. They're all on board with him, taking the judo, learning how to fall. Good for him. Mr. Scampers believes smoke screens or mismanagement and not pursuing Lamar. I agree with that, and I think it's the former, right? I think it's the first thing. I think it's the smoke screens. I mean, why would you say it, right? Until you have to. Why would you? Why would you confirm anything? So the Ravens allow the other 31 NFL teams to go out there and negotiate for them. Well, probably the Browns aren't in on this. Okay, there's probably a handful of teams that aren't in on this, right? But you get my point. I mean, you let all these teams come out, and maybe you show Lamar, look, nobody's going to give you what you want. So we'll give you $50 more than everyone else, right? Whatever. So I think that's where this is heading. I feel like the Ravens feel like they're in a box, a game of not wanting to negotiate a contract. No one wants an MVP quarterback. I don't know that anybody doesn't want an MVP quarterback, but I don't know that anybody wants to pay guaranteed money for anyone not named Deshaun Watson. Hell, I don't know, anyone who thinks that was a good deal for the Cleveland Browns, right? Other than it does give them a little latitude. The contract allows them to renegotiate and pay him money in advance, convert money to bonuses in order to save against the cap. So I think, I think we're finding out now that maybe Deshaun Watson's deal is a little more flexible or a little more beneficial to the team. But nonetheless, it's all guaranteed. It's $250 million guaranteed. I think that's the sticking point. We don't see that a whole lot. And I know the NFLPA would like players to get fully guaranteed contracts. So you're going to hear this angsty cry that it's collusion and nobody wants, they're against Lamar Jackson and nobody. I don't think it's that. I think everybody wants an MVP quarterback. I don't know, but I'll say later. It's been a couple of years since Lamar played at an MVP level. I'd like to see it again. I'd like to have seen it before I paid him $250 million. Look, quarterback prices are going up. I think the sooner you get a deal done right now, I think teams out there looking at whether it's Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, any of the handful of quarterbacks who are coming up to get paid. The sooner you get this done, the better off you're going to be, right? Look at Dak Prescott already talking about, maybe renegotiating because there's 9 quarterbacks right now make over $40 million. I think in a year or two it's going to be 9 quarterbacks making over $50 million, right? So I mean, this seems to be rising. The salary cap rises every year. This year it went up like $20 million. There's talk next year could be as high as 250. It's 224 right now. Could be as high as $250 million. So and it seems like the NFL is really good at making the money. So I'm guessing it'll continue to go up at least for a while. So I do think somebody wants an MVP quarterback. I just think they want him on their terms. Also think that paying him would be a good idea. In Lamar Jackson's case, I mean, I think the Ravens, they've got a new offensive coordinator. They would love to have him here. This is the concern for me. I'm going to go ahead and put my percentage on it. I've been 90+% at Lamar, much like I was on Aaron Rodgers. Look, information changes. I get a change. Aaron Rodgers, I dropped it down to 50-50. Lamar, I'm not going that low. I'm saying he's 80% still a Baltimore Raven when all is said and done. The question then becomes, how contentious does it get? Does he sit out? We have a new offensive coordinator in Todd Monken, guy that's had really great success at the University of Georgia and has been an NFL coordinator. He already talked about it. It's already being thrown out there that, wow, maybe, this offense can Lamar pick up the scheme and whatnot. Todd Monken very smartly saying, look, it's football. Lamar's played a lot of football. He can figure it out. I think he will figure it out. But it's not ideal, right? I mean, we talked about it a few minutes ago. Aaron Rodgers not showing up for OTAs last year. And then bitching because he wasn't on the same page with the wide receivers. Oh, wait, Lamar Jackson doesn't have wide receivers. He's Baltimore. Maybe they changed that. DeAndre Hopkins, paging DeAndre Hopkins. Baltimore Ravens calling. Maybe not. We'll see. So there's where we sit. I think for me, this looks like the Ravens crowdsourcing negotiations that they failed to get done for 25 months, right? I mean, they're at an impasse, clearly. So what do you do when you're at an impasse? You maybe bring some other players in the game. But again, when you do that, you immediately risk the possibility, you open the door to Lamar Jackson not being a Baltimore Raven in 2023. So we'll obviously be watching this. It'll be very interesting. Less interesting because it's kind of resolved. The New York Giants solved all their problems. Daniel Jones gets a 4-year, $160 million deal. This seems reasonable. They said he wanted like $45 million a year. He got a new agent. I think this is averaging Royal Slade. Hopkins to New England, please. That's been also mentioned. Hopkins himself mentioned the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see. So, and yeah, look, go ahead and throw your opinions in there. I would like to hear some of your comments on what team would you like to see Lamar Jackson play for? I mean, like, there are teams that would be an upgrade over Baltimore just in terms of their receiving core, right? Could it be Miami, where maybe they don't have as much faith into as they keep professing? Maybe it's a team that we're not considering. The Atlanta Falcons say they're not in, but are they? The Raiders, by the way, the report on the Raiders that says they're not interested said they're not interested, but they're kind of interested, right? So we'll see how that goes. Would the Raiders be a good landing spot with Devontae Adams there? And Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs. I'll talk about Josh Jacobs in a few minutes. So yes, I think there's a lot of really good landing spots. Maybe some we're not thinking of. Panthers, says Dave Overboard. Panthers, what are teams saying they're not in? Of course they're in. How could the Panthers not be in? How could David Tepper not be counting his money right now, saying, "I got this. I have enough. I can pull this off." Right? David Tepper, he's not known for his. He didn't get rich. by playing it safe. That's what I think. So we'll see. I think there will be suitors who appear. The Raiders, Bob Boyko says. I'd be okay with that. I mean, I think we might be surprised at some of the teams that jump into some of these sweepstakes. By the way, Jimmy Garoppolo seems to be everybody is interested for the right price. That is the correct answer by Royal Slade. Panthers definitely have the cash, says David Tepper. He's a very wealthy man. So we'll see. Well, this will get sorted out. Jimmy Garoppolo, by the way, the Texans have been mentioned, but the Raiders. I've been told by Adam Hill, who covers this team on the daily for the Las Vegas Review Journal, that kind of their pecking order was Rodgers, then Garoppolo is their fallback. Houston Texans now, Bobby Slowick, the formerly passing game coordinator in San Francisco, now the offensive coordinator there, has talked about, today, as recently as today, mentioned that Jimmy Garoppolo will probably be on their radar as well. Garoppolo kind of like seems like the Bowie Prize, I guess. If you miss out on one of the super high end guys, but go ahead and throw Lamar Jackson in that mix as well, super high end guy. Daniel Jones though, not in the mix anymore. So what do we get with Daniel Jones? I mean, it was a good season, but was it a great season? I think the Giants probably got what they wanted, which was not paying him. I mean, he's it says 40 million a year. I think the first couple of years are a little over, the last 2 years are a little under, whatever the case. But playing for Brian Dable, and I've talked about this. I love what Brian Dable did. I thought it was possible. Brian Dable, who had great success in coaching up another quarterback who came to the league a little rough, Josh Allen. Jones had his best season, completed 67.2% of his passes, 3,205 yards, had just 15 touchdowns, though, only 5 interceptions. He also ran for 708 yards and 7 TDs. That's on 120 carries, second to Saquon Barkley on that team. Cut down his fumbles, only had 6 last year. So he was very efficient, not super high end. But he did that without a great receiving core, right? I mean, we had Kenny Golladay, who did nothing. We had Kadarius Toney, who did so little he got traded away. They may end up regretting that at some point. So we ended up with a wide receiving core led by Isaiah Hodgins, the former Buffalo Bills reject, who, by the way, they re-signed, and I love. He's like a real player. Wan'Dale Robinson injured his knee. He'll be back towards the ACL in week 11, I guess. So we'll see. We'll see when he gets back. Darius Slayton led the team with 724 receiving yards and took a pay cut to stick around. Richie James kicked in, but they need to add some high-end talent there for him, and they retained Saquon Barkley. But I guess this is the thing. And by the way, Royal Slade, nobody wants to get the fully guaranteed contract. This is totally the sticking point, 100%. So Andrea wants to know, is Daniel Jones top 12 through top 15? Yes. I think that's probably where he's at. I think that's probably the right range for him. I want to go back and let's check the latest best ball 10s. That's where I'm playing mostly. Where are you guys playing? Are you playing Underdog? Are you playing best ball 10s? Are you playing somewhere else? Chime in on that. I'd like to hear where you're playing. I probably, like this early, I tend to stick with one. I tend to stick with the best ball 10s. But if I'd be interested in hearing if you're having a good time on any of the other sites. Let's just check the average draft position and look at the quarterbacks right now. I'm going to use like the last month as opposed to the entirety of the time. So let's go February to submit. All positions, quarterbacks, submitting again. And Daniel Jones, quarterback 15. I think that's fair. Guys going ahead of him, Russell Wilson, Tua Tagovailoa, Kyler Murray. I would take Daniel Jones over Kyler Murray right now. I don't question Kyler Murray's work ethic, but everyone else does. He's got to come back from ACL. Don't know when it's going to happen. Middle of the season? I don't know. Maybe. Kirk Cousins going ahead of him, Deshaun Watson, the usual assortment above that. So I think he's a pretty good value. I think as a second quarterback, one of the things that we like to do. I think the thing that I find appealing about Daniel Jones is his rushing ability is totally overlooked this season. I mean, it's probably not in this room. I don't think you all, are keen to this, but he's been a really good rusher, right? And he has a really good weapon in the backfield along with him, Saquon Barkley, who remains. But anyway, I'm sticking with Daniel Jones. I think right around that 15, I'd probably move him up a little bit over some of those other players I mentioned. Depending on how you do it. If you go aggressive early and say you take Justin Fields, who I think is great. I think he's going to be fantastic. I think he'll throw the ball better when they have the pieces around him, but there's some questions about that. And maybe you go a little early on him and you don't feel 100% comfortable with that, and you want to back him up with a guy you know is going to be in the lineup every damn week and has some good multi-touchdown games in him. Maybe Daniel Jones is your guy, and you can grab him there. And that's one of the things I like to do a lot. I'll go for a higher end player, and then come back. And I guess I view Daniel Jones as the proverbial steady Eddie, the guy that's going to be there every week and has a little bit upside, and maybe even more if they get him some other pieces. Odell Beckham's been mentioned. Yeah, I don't know if he is. Best Ball 10 Royal Slade says is the go-to. He likes underdog as well. I think those are the two that most people are going to gravitate towards. I will get into way more underdog as the season draws nearer. I know people out there, Jordan Fiegelman from Matthew Berry's site, loves underdog, plays a ton. So anyway, Saquon Barkley also got the franchise tag. So that was the thing. They got Daniel Jones done at the last minute. He was going to get the franchise tag, and they were going to have to figure out what they were going to do with Saquon Barkley. But instead they tagged him. So he gets that $10.9, almost $11 million that all the tag running backs get. The lowest price, by the way, for the non-exclusive tag of all the skilled positions. Evan Ingram, it's like 11.3 million on his tag. The running backs get 10.9 million. So Saquon Barkley, I thought it was a pretty good season, right? And you're seeing him go very early, right? I mean, and I rank him way up there. I rank him inside my top 10 easily. Let's get a look at the current ADP on him as well. Saquon Barkley, running back 5. And I think that's right. I probably have him 4. I probably have him 1 ahead of Derrick Henry. Is he being shot? That's what Michael Silver says. Michael Silver from out. Look for all these insiders to start work for gambling sites soon. Wait till we got Adam Schefter for MGM and Ian Rappaport for Circa. It's coming. We're seeing more of this, right? So Michael Silver reported that maybe Derrick Henry is on the block. I'm not sure anyone really believes that, but that said, probably everyone's available if someone's willing to give him to him. Who's going to trade for Derrick Henry? I mean, is there an NFL team out there that thinks they're a running back away from a championship? And if they do, why pay for one? Running backs. I mean, I think Derrick Henry's good on the team that has him right now. And they're probably anyway, Saquon Barkley, and we'll talk a little more about Derrick Henry here. Saquon Barkley in a pretty good spot. I mean, the thing we like about him is we know what the offense is going to do. We know that I think it's an improving offense. I don't think they're done improving. Right? I think they will continue to get better. And we look at last year, what we had with what Saquon Barkley did: 1,312 yards, 10 touchdowns. That was a career high, by the way. That 1,310 yards rushing, added another 338 yards through the air. He was the tip of the offensive spear there. Averaged 22 touches a game. I still chase volume. Maybe you don't. I still do, especially early in drafts. I mentioned that ADP. I want to say that it's a little off my Jonathan Taylor. I'm a little not as high on, but maybe I should be. For the new coach there, Shane Steichen. That's something that they talked about how smart he is. We'll find out. Anyway, still can get a long-term deal done with all these guys, but Barkley's locked in right now. The 22 carries, 22 touches a game average, I thought was great. That's like, I want to say, third in the league. Henry was first, right? 24.3. And a guy I'm going to talk about a few minutes from now, Josh Jacobs, is also right up there. He was second in the league in touches per game. I think it's going to change. I don't think. Henry to Buffalo. Wouldn't that be interesting? So, but I mean, if you're Buffalo, you guys chime in on this one. I'm interested because I was talking to Waldman the other day, and we were trying to figure out, I mean, who would really want to trade for Derrick Henry? I don't think me and Dempsey talked about this a little bit too on the phone, just off air. Do teams really think they're running back? Wait, Buffalo might. I mean, right? They're going to lose Devin Singletary. I know Matthew Berry said we should be watching James Cook, because maybe there's going to be a little more, maybe the Bills think a little more highly of him than we realize. Some of these things will reveal themselves throughout the course of the draft and free agency. I just can't see anyone, I mean, is Derrick Henry going to negotiate his deal way down? What is his salary? You probably know this. I mean, I think that's the complicating factor for him is the money involved. You're going to have to pay him a fair amount at the position. I want to say $12 million or something. You want to do that and give something up for him for a 1-year rental? I don't know. I'm not sure anyone will. Buffalo might, though. I mean, Buffalo's in that position where they have a need and they're really close, right? They've been close for how many years now? So that's entirely possible. That might be one. Anyone else? Anyone else have a feeling? I don't think anyone. But that's me. I think he remains a Tennessee Titan, and if he does, he's going to continue to be very busy. He's the only tool in their toolbox right now. All right, so Derek Carr, 100 minutes. Let's through some of these, and again, throw out any questions. Andrea says Buffalo's going to draft the running back. I think that seems likely as well. I think Devin Singletary moved on. San Francisco swung big for CMC. I think CMC is a little different case though, right? He's kind of a multi-purpose weapon, and maybe this was a Kyle Shanahan vanity play. But it's a fair point, Mr. Scampers, and maybe somebody else will view Derrick Henry as that, even though I don't. By the way, if you just got here, I'm Bob Harris. Everyone else is here. Chime in if you have comments, questions, opinions. I'd love to hear them. Would love to discuss them with the group. Also, I do this every Wednesday and Saturday. Wednesday, 7 p.m. Saturdays, noon. Catch me on the Football Diehards radio program. Right now, we'll be on Saturdays. This week, 7 to 9. That's going to be our regular time. Bob Boyko, Henry DePilly. Stop it. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like GMs think they can figure out running back. Brett Veach says you can find those guys anywhere. He may be right. So you can catch us on our regular time on Saturday nights, at least heading into the month of the draft where the schedule gets shaken up and go a little more football heavier. We'll be on Saturdays from 7 to 9, except for the week after this. Baseball drafts are ongoing. So we'll probably move to Sunday night one week, but you'll catch it here. I'll keep you filled in on any schedule changes. It's me and Mike Dempsey. We'll be doing our usual thing. So and go to the footballdiehards.com website. Get all the latest rookie information and other articles by the great John Laub and others coming. I think we'll have some new content up. Tara Roberts will be doing some best ball stuff. We have some dynasty pieces upcoming as well. So check it out. John Bonneville loves the draft class. There are 16 guys he likes. Some of every flavor. Was looking at even athletically, he's most identical to where Pollard was. Philly may take Bijan. That's been talked about. I've heard many teams associated with Bijan Robinson. By the way, what about Jahmyr Gibbs? That guy hauls ass. I mean, 3.6, 4.6. I mean, I might wait and get the second guy. I know Bijan Robinson is everyone's favorite. So I've heard Chargers beat writer mention him as a possibility. Wouldn't we like that for the Eckler dynasty managers? Chase Brown, Royal Slade likes that as a Canadian in the group. So we'll see how that plays out. Anyway, getting back to the players here, Derek Carr, 4-year, $150 million deal with the Saints. It seemed to make the most sense. He's very familiar, or at least familiar with Dennis Allen, who was the coach of the Raiders when they drafted Derek Carr, was not shy about switching to him as a rookie and didn't last too long into his career, but they have some familiarity. I have concerns about the Saints. Alvin Kamara is going to be in trouble. I don't know if he can avoid missing some games this year. We'll see. Maybe he gets totally off the hook, but there is video. It doesn't look good for him. He's charged with some pretty serious criminal activities, and the league has been slow rolling this, waiting for some clarity there. They'll get it July 31st. Maybe the Saints are the team that'll be looking for running backs. And also, I don't know what Michael Thomas is. Is Michael Thomas still a talented guy who just had a little bad luck staying on the field? Is he a guy who's lost it all? He did sometimes with these wide receivers. Also, in 3 games last year, he had 3 touchdowns? Olave is the piece, right? And that's the thing. John Bonneville is 100% correct. Right now, I think Olave remains probably getting him as a running wide receiver 2. I think he's got wide receiver 1 upside, and I think we've seen Derek Carr drive the value of various pieces, including Hunter Renfrow, pretty damn high. Devontae Adams fared reasonably well. Darren Waller has in the past, so maybe Juwan Johnson is a piece that will be a great value here. Oddly, Mr. Scamper says Saints Broncos are both in running back trouble to start the season. I mentioned it before. A lot of talk about maybe Kareem Hunt being the apple of the Broncos' eyes if they don't think Javonte Williams is going to be ready, and that will be the tell, according to Matthew Berry. If they think he's going to be ready or not, their interest in Kareem Hunt or another guy. Bengals might need it back too. Joe Mixon, we don't know what's going on there. More trouble at the Mixon household. Shots fired. Anyway, so that is true. So I think Chris Olave is, though, the piece there that we're all going to be interested in. A guy you're probably getting as a wide receiver 2 right now. That price might rise. Bonneville would like to see Bijan there. Everyone wants Bijan everywhere. But I do think Mixon's probably likely to be moving on. Geno Smith re-signs with the Seahawks, 105 million over 3 years. Congratulations to him. Great season. He was phenomenal last year, right? I mean, maybe better than he gets credit for. I kind of think, right? It was a really good season. Um, uh, what were the numbers? I mean, the numbers were great. League high, 69%, 69.8%, 4,282 yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Had great rapport with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. That probably doesn't change. This is a great news for Metcalf and Lockett. I think they remain. I see Metcalf going at the tail end of the wide receiver one. Lockett going a little later. I like to get the cheaper pieces off him, but I'm not afraid to get Metcalf right now because Smith is back. I think this is also good news for Kenneth Walker III. They need a little help on the offensive line, and they'll get a little more mature and a little more experience there after playing some youngsters last year. But a successful passing attack keeps opposing defenses honest, and that'll make life a little easier for Kenneth Walker. Geno's going way late, right? Maybe later than he should. He'll be a guy I'll be looking for sure. The Seahawks would have been on Hooker in the second. I'm not sure if the contract stops that. They still might be, right? They talked about it. I think Pete Carroll talked about it. So I do think it's still possible Seattle gets a quarterback. Josh Jacobs is signing the franchise tag. I have talked about this on the live streams before. This is the best possible news, right? This makes basically last year's situation the same. Last year, they didn't pick up his fifth-year option, so he's on a one-year prove-it deal. This year, he's on a maybe better one-year prove-it deal, but a one-year prove-it deal nonetheless. He was very busy last year. I think that's the key here. I don't see this changing. We'll see what the quarterback situation is for the Las Vegas Raiders. Apparently, nobody likes Josh McDaniels, not even the Raiders. But we'll see how that plays out. I do think, though, the workload is something that we can probably count on, right? Great season, by the way, last year. Led the league in rushing. You all saw that. Let's say Jacobs, he's like 1,000 rushing yards in 3 of his 4 seasons. Has 4,740 yards, 40 touchdowns on 1,072 rushing attempts, 160 catches. He can't catch the football. Another 1,100 yards. So, been really a high-end producer over the course of time. He finished with 340 carries last year, second only to Derrick Henry's 349. He had 53 catches on 64 targets, giving him an average of 23.1 touches per game. So he was second to Derrick Henry's 24.3. I don't see any change in the usage for him there as well. Tony Pollard talked a little bit about him on a previous live stream along with Jacobs. Look, he showed great ability. Was great after contact last year. Had 3.82 yards per rush after the initial hit. So for a guy that you think is elusive and a speedster, he was pretty tough after contact. Averaged 5.22 yards per carry. Third best among running backs. Better still, he's a top 10 producer. He's a good receiver. I like a lot of what I see here. We'll see who the piece associated with him is, whether it's Ezekiel Elliott, slated to make basically the franchise tag number, $10.9 million. Expect them to renegotiate this. They could save almost $5 million by releasing him. Maybe they're in on Bijan Robinson. Oh my God. So I think so. Pollard finished in the top 10 last year. Where are you drafting him this year? What do you think about it? Is he a top 10 running back? Looking at the current ADPs at Best Ball 10s again. Let's go to the running back section and see Tony Pollard is going as running back 18. Is that a value? Seems like it. I mean, Mike McCarthy calling this offense. Mike McCarthy's offenses have been really, really good when he's called the plays, right? I mean, his time in Green Bay, they were always highly ranked in yards and points. So franchise tag on running back feels dirty, says John Bonneville, $10 million to get punished for 300 touches. Meanwhile, Daniel Jones, just the nature of it, right? I totally agree with you. And running backs should feel short-shrifted because they are. Totally are. Quarterbacks have been played at 40 these days, and that's where the 25-year-old rookie is as bad as it once was. I agree with that as well, referring back to Hooker. So there we go. It is a value there. Evan Ingram, 11.34, I guess, million to remain in this offense for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm on board with this. He was very good. Top 5 producer. Down the stretch, I want to say weeks 11, maybe 12 through 18, he was a tight end 2. right? Does Calvin Ridley skew that some, or does he add? Does he make it better? Does he open things up a little more? Having another piece there, another effective piece. That's the question. But I think Evan Ingram's the guy you're going to see heavily drafted. Let's check that current ADP as well. Granted, this is like just the first month or first serious month, and Evan Ingram is going as tight end 9. He's going after Dalton Schultz. I take him over Schultz. Going over Darren Waller, going after Dallas Goedert, going after Kyle Pitts. We're still in on Kyle Pitts. Are you guys still in on Kyle Pitts? Where are we at on Kyle Pitts? Does it ever get better for him? Does it ever get better? John Bonneville wants to know, wasn't it their time to rebate when he didn't get Aaron Jones involved enough though? I think there were times like I think he got stale. I don't know if it was really issues with the offense. It seemed to be more of a personality clash. There comes a point where coaches who have been with the team for a long time, they just the message, players quit listening to them, right? They don't hear them anymore. They don't hear coaches who have been there a long time. And sometimes you just need a refresh. There was a lot of really interesting rumors that he spent a lot of time getting massages and exercising. And as you can see, he's big on the exercise. Andrea, yes, she's in on Pitts. Is this the year? Does the talent finally come to the fore? Does it get there with Desmond Ridder as quarterback, or would it be better if it was Lamar Jackson? Out on Pitts, not the talent, but the coaching and no faith in Ridder. I'm not against, I think probably Arthur Smith is a pretty creative coach. I just think it's hard to get it done without a quarterback. Arthur Mike, we're looking at you. Lamar Jackson's available. Get some of that, young man. He's not young. All right. Throw in any other comments you have, any other questions you have. We'll be looking next week. Free agency begins in earnest. Some of these players will start seeing the legal tampering begin early in the week, and the signings can begin Wednesday, the 15th. I'll be live streaming here on Saturday. Not sure what we're going to do the topic. Well, maybe more rookie stuff. Maybe if there's more developments with some of these players, we'll revisit them. What do you want to talk about? What do y'all want to hear? We've got to do a mock draft again soon, but might put that off a little bit until we get into the fun. We will be starting a best ball and football diehards, Mike Dempsey and I, Saturday night, 9 p.m. Would love for you to go to the website. All John Lov's latest rookie articles are up. Quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers, part 1s are there. There will be part 2s. The tight end class there, John Bonneville, John Love has his piece. I know you study these things well. This is a great tight end class, right? And there were some guys that kind of shined a little bit more maybe than Meyer, more than I expected at the combine this year. Some really great. Who are some of the combine performances you love? I mean, Anthony Richardson for sure. I thought Jamar Gibbs was really good. I mean, loved the 40 time. Smith and Jigba seemed to have a pretty good run. And at tight ends, there was a handful of guys that seemed to be playing pretty well. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Mr. Scampers would like to say I'm scared because all the mocks have the Panthers taking Levis. You there, right? So what do we think of this quarterback class? How keen are we on this? John Bonneville, loving Evan Bolt. Loving him. We'll see how that goes. What do we think of the quarterbacks? I don't know. I mean, Richardson's going to sky. I like Levis. I mean, he looks the part, right? Big, strong. C.J. Stroud seems like he can get it done. Bryce Young, he's big enough, everybody, or so we're told. Feels like they sell him too hard, right? Tyon Evans as well. We'll see. What on earth did the Rams do to right the ship? By the way, Dame says seems Titanic-y right now. The latest from Barry too adds to that, where there are people at the combine saying that they think he's shot, that he doesn't have the arm, that he's done, that he might retire. Raheem Jarrett, to my naked eye, Mr. Scampers has a keen eye, even though it's naked. Looks smooth at the combine. I know nothing about him. I always see, there's all these players I see at the combine that I didn't really have on my radar. I think back to, and Vincent Jackson at his combine, just like, wow, what the hell is that, right? I mean, you see these players that you maybe weren't on your radar, that suddenly become on your radar just based on, the run around in their undershorts. I mean, pretty good. But Anthony Richardson, surely. Have you seen anything about the best odds for Lamar is going to the Lions? I can't see it. Would go off their plans. I don't see that. Robert. I mean, again, it's Lamar. There are probably way more teams interested in Lamar than are not. And is it realistic? Cap kind of situations. The Lions seem to be building a certain way. We'll see. I don't think. I think that's not likely. Dame saw that as well. It seems odd, right? I mean, Jared Goff, who a little better half the games than the other half the games, could know. So, I don't know. It just doesn't seem the way they're building that team. But who knows? I mean, desperate times. Lions. It's been a long time since they've been great. So I don't know. We'll see how this plays out with Lamar. Again, I think this. If you missed it early in the thing, and you can watch the replay, it'll be available here momentarily. Um, this just seems like the Ravens, who, having spent 25 months trying to get a deal done with this guy, realizing that he's not having any of their nonsense. Maybe he has the same nonsense from 20 other teams, or hell, it might be as simple as like, here's the best offer out there. Baltimore says, I'm going to give you a million more, right? Robert says he thinks all. I think I'm good with Goff too. We'll see what Jameson Williams, adds to the mix there a little bit. Amon-Ra St. Brown, phenomenal talent. I think the Lions are building slowly, right? Falcons with Lamar would be so much fun. I agree with that. I'd love to see what they could do in that offense and with some of the pieces around him. It makes sense, right? Lamar makes sense. It seems to me there. Lamar makes sense a few places, but I mean, this just may be as simple as the Ravens saying, so he needs a dose of reality. He thinks our deal is not like a fair deal. Well, wait till he sees what everyone else is offering. And if somebody else is offering, something close, they can go a little higher. And, that's how negotiations work. This seems not to be going, I mean, again, 25 months of making an effort. Maybe some of this is Lamar being his own agent. I don't know. Goff is good, too much disrespect. I think that goes back to, the Rams just being so quick to shed him, right? I mean, he went to the Super Bowl. He didn't play great there, but I'm kind of with you, Dame. I feel like this guy has kind of gotten a bit of a raw deal, and I know when they got him in Detroit, they talked about him maybe being a bridge quarterback. Hell, bridge to himself, right? I think that's the case. So, Mr. Scamper agrees. Probably good business move by the Ravens, guessing they were getting over. That's totally it to me, right? They're banging their head against the wall, and they said, okay, see what everyone else is going to offer, and find out how disrespectful or unrealistic or however Lamar Jackson. We don't even know. Lamar has not said anything. To his credit, it's very quiet. His circle is small. Him and his mom, right? So we don't hear a lot. We hear some reporting. I don't know how accurate it is. We heard what Aaron Rodgers had to say about all the NFL insiders who talk about him. So they don't know. I think Lamar is probably in that same boat. And I liked the way Aaron Rodgers framed it. If somebody in my circle is saying something, they're not in my circle. Lamar seems to want Watson numbers. He does totally wants Watson numbers. I mean, he wants fully guaranteed for sure and probably more. Right? And Cleveland really messed up the QB market. But in the end, if Cleveland pays guaranteed money to Deshaun Watson and he doesn't totally suck, and they drive Lamar Jackson out of Baltimore, I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't think it was a great deal. I probably wouldn't have given it to Deshaun Watson and given up all the pieces. But anyway, that's for another time. I'm going to have to call it a night. I got to jump on a live stream, go over to the Fantasy Intervention guys on the Twitter and check it out. I'll be on there for the next hour talking as well. So check that out. It'll be me and Shane and Gator, who's in here in the chat earlier. So go check it out. And again, I'll be back on Wednesday, or what is today? Today is Wednesday, Saturday, noon Eastern time. We'll talk about more things, fantasy football related, sort out more values, figure some more things out. Watch my Twitter feed, watch the FF Diehards, at FF Diehards Twitter feed. If you missed anything here, go back to our YouTube page, subscribe to that page. Subscribe to that page. Here's to hoping we make it in the Bob Harris Circle. So you're already there, John Bonneville. You're a master. Thank you, Andrea. Appreciate everyone coming. Scampers, Dame, John, everybody. Appreciate your time and you listen to Royal Slate as well. Always happy to have you, Bob Boyko. Who else was in here? Who else did I remember being in here? Larry K was here. All right, everybody who was here, thank you very much. I hope to see you Saturday, noon Eastern time. Go to the Football Diehards website again if you want to subscribe. Use the promo code DieHards to get 15% off. And I'll see you here Saturday. Thanks so much, everybody. Good night.